There's a lot of negativity around the construction market. Now, we haven't experienced that. I did a quick calculation before I came here. The tenders we've submitted in the last 5 months came to 20 billion rand, and we have been awarded a strike rate of nearly 20%. Even this last 2 weeks, we've been awarded R1 billion worth of work, pushing our order book currently at 8.5 billion. And that excludes work that we're lowest on. Tanzania, we're lowest on some tenders submitted 2 months ago of nearly 2 billion. There's work in Uganda, Eritrea, Sierra Leone, where we're currently busy. We're busy with a client negotiating further work. So we've just been awarded this week, as a matter of fact yesterday, 500 million in Botswana. Namibia, we're very active, constantly renegotiating current work. So Africa definitely is a big market. But I want to tell you that in South Africa, there's an incredible amount of work out. So I don't know why the guys are crying out there. The margins has come down. That's probably why they're crying. But we're trying to mix our work, between better margins, because you do find better margins in Africa, because we've all learned our lessons there. So we are a lot more careful now.
So in other words, you're saying it's time to get excited about the construction story. Are you excited, Mr. Links?
Well, I think so. I think the one premise to that view is that it is under margin pressure, and that we have found that the margins went up quite dramatically during the kind of boom years as the industry came out of a long period of lackluster growth, and obviously people got very excited by that. But in the meantime, those margins have not evaporated, but they're under pressure, and so quite difficult to see the profitability going up dramatically.
Being made by Marius that the margins are better on the continent, and correct. You must be blending, obviously looking for great exposure to the continent right now. And just in terms of what you've signed up, you were pointing to Botswana yesterday.
Correct,
Do you feel that the market's got the timing wrong around these construction shares?
No, they don't. I think they're very accurate. But 2011 is going to be a tough year for margins. But I'm very excited that I believe that during 2011 our government is going to get their act together in terms of rolling out the right type of projects. We can see it. We are in touch with government, different departments with different management. It took them a time to find their feet within the new management system, and we can see that government is gearing for another rollout. It will not be a World Cup boom, but I think it's going to be more even, but better than 2011.
There's just two things when you look at the work within Africa, are the tenders that you're going in for, are those government tenders or are they private sector tenders?
A combination of both. It's like 50-50.
And within the private sector, what type of expansion? Is it mining? Is it
mostly mining and infrastructure for the mining.
Okay.
But also on the government side, there's a lot of IPPs, independent power producers, which is now been awarded project by governments, raised the funding, and we are now negotiating power generation projects with them.
And can we just come back to the statement that you made that you think next year there's going to be more work coming out of government? To me, that's an absolutely crucial factor. Government has a budget, a 3-year budget, as you know.
You're talking about South Africa now, okay?
Yes, South Africa, sorry.
Of over just giving context to your conversation.
Yes, over 800 billion rand, right, over the next 3 years. Now, we're a little bit concerned that since the World Cup, there's been a general lack of new work coming into the market. I'm not talking about the rest of Africa, I'm talking about in South Africa. What makes you think that there will be more work coming from government over the next, let's say, year, 2 years?
It's clear the power stations, they have to do something about the power stations, nuclear included. And I think their planning is getting closer to start getting moving on that. On the roads infrastructure, from National Roads Agency, they are putting out a massive amount of tenders. Every week, there's at least 3 to 4 tenders going in just on National Roads Agency. The provinces has been instructed that they have to fix their roads, and they've been putting out a lot of work. Yes, there's been a bit of controversy with the provinces because they tried to do a design, construct and finance model, which I'm not so sure if Treasury has approved it totally, but they are within their rights in terms of the PFMA rules. And we've actually had a lot of support from the banking sector to actually finance those provincial governments. And if we can do that, then we haven't even touched the municipal infrastructure, which is in a total mess.
A number of
Do you remember that I'm sitting behind you?
Sorry,
I mean,
ma'am,
sorry, I invited him in and now he's taken over the show. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
Okay.
I'll see if they can extend.
Yeah, maybe for just a minute or two. Just quickly, there are a number of smaller construction guys that we've picked up who are, I would say, I don't know if complaining is the right word, but they're arguing that payment is not forthcoming from within provinces, municipalities. Is that the reality, or is there any sort of improvement?
It's a reality. And it's more a case of problems within the systems. And there's been exposed currently a lot of corruption within those departments. And because of that corruption being exposed, that has now put a strain on processing payments. So first, certain officials has to deal with the corruption that's been within. We are even ourselves, we've got some payment problems. But one thing I can tell you, government does pay eventually. You just have to hang it out. And that's the problem with the sort of smaller companies. They cannot carry that non-payment for long enough.
Just very quickly, you're still on the payment side of things. What terms are you striking with clients in Africa?
In Africa, it's quite a different mix. As a matter of fact, most of our payments in Africa is upfront payments.
Is that because you have the additional risk? You won't go in unless you get the upfront payment?
I don't know. It's just the way that the contract. I think it stems from the sort of World Bank and African Development Bank rules, and even the clients. Most of them is Australian and UK based, and even Canadian. And they used to paying the contractors an upfront payment, which is around about 10% of the contract value, 10 to 15. Obviously, we provide guarantees for that, but that helps a lot when you have that. And we've been paid within 30 days in Africa for the work that we've been doing.
What is your mix currently, if you look at South Africa and the rest of the continent?
We were 80-20 about early in the new year, early in 2010. We're sitting around about, we're coming down to 70-30 outside South Africa.
And this has been a conscious move so that you can capitalize on those bigger margins?
Correct, yeah. No, definitely. We've been trying to tap into those higher margin projects.
Where are you striving for in terms of the continent versus South Africa?
I would like it to be between local and cross-border. I would like it to be 50-50. Because the pot has become congested here. You know, there's only so many contractors that can feed off what is here. And we planned 2 years ago, we did our planning and we started progressing. Because, you know, you don't just move into Africa and pick up a job. It takes you up to 2 years before you get to know that specific country, the politicians, the management of the government, or either the projects that you're working on. And it's a very slow process.
Aren't you all moving in that direction though, Marius?
No, funny enough, not. It's not the same as, I find it that there's 1 or 2 countries where all the contractors are, and we're trying to stay out of it because I don't want to compete like a decade ago where we all went into Africa and we all lost our boots. So we've been really selective in where we're operating, and obviously looking at the risks. I mean, a lot of our competitors, for instance, in the DRC, I don't want to touch the DRC because it's just so difficult to operate there.
Can I just
of course you can. I was going to ask you whether I had your permission to let Marius go.
Just one more question. In terms of equipment and skills, so let's assume that government does spend more. They've got these big budgets. So let's assume there's more infrastructure spending. Let's assume there's more mining expansion, particularly within Africa, which we think will come about.
It's definitely picking up.
Is there the right mix of equipment and skills to deal with that? Or would you anticipate local construction companies having to just gear up a bit? In other words, more purchases of equipment, more hiring. Where's the industry placed?
You know, we've all got capacity because we created capacity during the World Cup. So to me, plant and province, we mobilized within 2 months. We mobilized nearly 150 million rands worth of plant into Sierra Leone for a railway line for one of the mining companies that we're working on. And it wasn't a problem to obtain the plant, and it's brand new plant. And even within our own organization, we have enough plant to cater with it.
Can I steal one more question?
We're running out of time, but you've got 20 seconds to answer, so very quickly, Kevin.
How big is China in Africa in terms of construction?
China is not really that big as what everybody says. And we find that the Chinese is not a problem for us. We can beat them at their game.